change that.
Always.
You didn't change, you didn't turn off.
So what? No. We want the lights on.
Okay.
Lights on means it's good. I'm gonna give you.
Are we okay?
Yeah, if you just want to say hi to everybody and just let them know we'll get started in just a few seconds.
We're live. Give me 1 minute and we'll start. Is that okay?
Okay.
Little different today than usual. Normally people come to the office and I feed you beer and wine and pizza, and sorry that's not happening right now, but hopefully soon we'll be able to do that again. I think today will probably be one of the most watched episodes just because of everything that's going on right now. There's a lot of questions, a lot of concerns, there's a lot of fear mongering. So we're just going to go down and we're going to do stats and statistics and actually talk about what's really going on. So let's go ahead and start. First thing I absolutely wanted to do is give a big shout out. There's a lot of people on the front lines helping us that really need to be open, like grocery store workers and doctors and healthcare workers. That's the 8 p.m. howl. If you've heard that, that's for our nurses and doctors. I've been trying to participate as much as possible. Truck drivers, Amazon drivers, all of those people, it's huge because, you know, if we weren't getting deliveries and things here, I mean, look at what happened with toilet paper, right? So we just need to make sure that we're thanking people. I know when I go to the grocery store, I'm thanking my checkout person for just working. It's a big deal, so we should all be very thankful to them. So what is Denvernomics? Denvernomics basically started because it was January of 2007, and I realized in that month that we were about to have a very large recession and really a depression that was going to really rock our global and America and Colorado economy. And I realized, you know, my favorite thing is economics and math, besides people and food. And those are my top three. So I realized that I really should be trying to help basically our community to understand what's happening and why and when. And so here's Denvernomics. I do it every April and I do it every October. I'm going to cover today the specific crisis that we're going through, whether or not we're in a real estate bubble. Does real estate inventory look, how does it look right now? When's the best time to buy and sell? What factors contributed to housing decisions, and what is the future of Colorado's economy and our real estate market? So potential for recession, global slowdown, trade war, and rising interest rates. Clearly right now we have a global slowdown. It's happening everywhere in the world. People are having to stay home. People are having to work from home. And so those are all things that are definitely affecting us, and we are in a recession. This recession is not going to be long lasting, but we are in one. This is actually a really awesome website. I don't know if you all know it or not, but it's worldometers.info. It's pretty cool. You can log on. It'll tell you the current world population, births this year, births today, deaths this year. The one thing that I find so interesting about this is I want you to look at births this year and deaths this year. We are a growing population. Like, you just take America, our population doubled from 1976 to 2000, just in America. And that's going to continue to happen. We're going to, microphone coming at me. That's going to continue to happen. We are growing. The pandemic is not going to make a dent in that. And so it's something for you to look at and see the government and the economics, the expenditures. It's just a great website. So I wanted to share that with you. So how will existing multifamily housing rentals be affected in the short and long term? Single family rentals and multifamily rentals are going to do very well in the short and long term. A key to a favorable short-term outcome may be that individual units have their own points of entry. I think this is actually going to be really important versus a common entryway, hallway, or elevator. I think people are going to be more concerned about their health and the spread of disease, and so that's something I would look for with my investors. So in February, the consumer price index for all urban consumers rose 0.01% on a seasonally adjusted basis, but it rose 2.3% over the last 12 months, which basically tells you our economy was roaring prior to this pandemic. I have two black swans up because we are in a dual black swan crisis. What does a black swan mean? Black swan crisis is just one. It's an event that happens that we didn't see. We economically couldn't see it on the horizon. It's and we're actually going through two, and a lot of people don't realize that because everybody's so focused on COVID. But the two are our oil market. I don't know if you've noticed or if you've went and filled up your car lately, but gas is super cheap. And us as a consumer, we may appreciate that, but it's actually really bad for our economy. Russia and Saudi Arabia have been in a pissing match. And actually about 30 minutes ago, there's been some reprieve of that, which is awesome. So the profoundly ill-timed oil market price war between Saudi Arabia and Russia has not only pushed oil prices to 20-year lows, but it is also pushing up storage costs. So what happens is all over the world, different countries who produce oil, they're making oil. And then the oil has to go into storage if it's not getting used. And oil is not getting used right now. People are not flying. They're not traveling. They're not in their cars. So we have this huge surplus of oil. And so, and we have depressed demand, and our storage facilities are going to be completely run out of space by August. So unless the supply falls dramatically soon, prices are going to turn negative once storage space is exhausted. So the sharp reductions in global crude oil prices, which occurred during March 2020 as a result of the COVID-19, will persist through the second quarter before prices begin gradually increasing through the end of the forecast. The IEA expects that the considerable decreases in liquid fuel consumption will result from containment measures and economic disruptions related to COVID-19. You can read this, but one of the things I wanted to say is, the oil really is affecting us, but I don't know if you've noticed how beautiful our skyline is. We don't have the smog over our city. In a very short period of time, our environment actually improved incredibly quickly, and it's something everybody should think about. I know we're all concerned about the environment, but I'm so impressed with us just staying home more, how much better our environment became in just a few short weeks. Prices for U.S. imports fell 0.5% in February after ticking up 0.1% in January. U.S. export prices declined 1.1% in February following a 0.6% rise in January. Over the past 12 months, import prices decreased 1.2% and export prices fell 1.3%. So that's our first black swan crisis. Our second black swan crisis is COVID-19, obviously. We're all talking about it. We're all seeing it. It's affecting our social lives. We're having so many ramifications from the disease. And so right now it looks like if you use the Murray model, presented by Chris Murray and the University of Washington, it looks like that group estimated approximately 81,000 U.S. deaths over the next 4 months. We have about 364 million people living in America. So basically, you are 5,000 times more likely to die in your car to go buy the toilet paper than you are to die of this virus. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo stated, and that was the epicenter, is New York, on Saturday, that the situation is turning and that the rate of infection is going down. And that's consistent with other models. And I think, if you're looking on the news, you're going to see it's the second week where they're going, oh, it's not as bad as we actually thought. It's going down quickly. Washing our hands, social distancing, all of this stuff is making a huge difference, and we're beating it. So the adjusted coronavirus model predicted less than 82,000 people will die by August. So what do I expect to happen to home values? March housing data isn't quite available yet. However, in January, of this year, we had the highest sales ever in Colorado. In February of this year, we had the highest sales ever in Colorado. March is not going to be that way because many people are not leaving their home. They're not risking it because of the COVID-19, and I completely understand that. But before this all happened, we were in the strongest real estate market ever in the state of Colorado. So with the new coronavirus bill possibly working its way through Congress, and it's a $2.2 trillion CARES Act, it's going to keep people attached to employers, help small business stay solvent as they lose income due to social distancing. I can tell you that here we filled out the SBA report. We have a lot of employees and salaried people, and I will be on pins and needles hoping that the government actually does what they say they're going to do, but it sounds like they are. So one of the things from COVID-19 is, do you think this will lead toward accelerating the longer term shift from brick and mortar to Amazon? Yes. I think commercial real estate is going to take a dip. I think you're going to see storefronts close. I think you're going to see about 30% of restaurants close. Most restaurants operate on a very thin margin. So, you know, I would suggest if you love a restaurant and they are open for takeout, make sure you get it, because we want to make sure these restaurants stay open here in Denver. But we are going to see that new habits are going to form from this COVID-19, and those habits are going to be less socializing, which, you know, if any of you know me, I love community. And so community is going to be more important than ever. Family is going to be more important than ever. And so, but we are going to see people tick back. I think it's going to be a long time before we are in major sporting venues and concert venues. I think it's going to take a while. So I wanted to go through the major economic indicators right now. In a usual month, about 1 million jobs are created in the US and about 800,000 are destroyed, with a net job growth of 200,000. The reason the March job report looked relatively bad at negative 700,000 is because there was reasonably normal job destruction in March, but absolutely no hiring. This is because no jobs were created. Essentially, firms stopped hiring in March, but didn't do much firing. So we're going to need to wait and see what happens in April. But that's why the job report looks so bad. The other thing to consider is 72% of all of those jobs that were lost or cut were in the hospitality industry. The Consumer Price Index. In February, the Consumer Price Index for all urban consumers rose 0.1% on a seasonally adjusted basis, rising 2.3% over the last 12 months. Employment costs. Compensation costs rose 0.7% for civilian workers from September 2019 to December 2019. Overall, compensation rose 2.7%, with wages and salaries rising 2.9%. That's a good thing. We want salaries to rise because, especially with inflation, we don't want to have this big differentiation between the wealthy and the poor. We need to make sure that wages are increasing along with inflation. Total non-farm payroll employment fell by 701,000 in March, and the unemployment rate rose to 4.4%. I want to put this in perspective for you. A healthy economy has a 5% unemployment. That means 5 out of 100 people are not working. And to be honest, 5 out of 100 people probably should not be working. And so we're still in a fairly healthy employment situation. The Producer Price Index for final demand fell 0.2% in March, as prices for final demand goods dropped 1%, and the index for final demand moved up 0.2%. Obviously, we're all sitting at home. We're not out. We're not, we're buying some things that we need for our house, but we're certainly not consuming the way we normally consume. Real average hourly earnings increased 0.3% over the month in February, which is good. The CPI is a measure of the average change over time in the prices paid by urban consumers for a market basket of consumer goods and services. Indexes are available for the U.S. and various geographic areas. Average price data for select utility, automotive, food items are also available, but that's not really part of the CPI. So the leading indicator signals for 2019 and early 2020 are directionally unchanged, even though we're going through this crisis. The downside signals are more pronounced than they were last month, and I'll have a graph after this to explain it better. But there's no indication that we need to change our U.S. total industrial production outlook through 2021. Here are the phases. You got phase A, which is recovery. You got phase B, accelerated growth. Then you have phase C, slowing growth. And then you have phase D, which is a recession. So here's our 2020, 2021, and 2022. We are, I don't know how to go back, but right now in 2020, we're in accelerated growth. Doesn't feel that way. I know I'm bored. I mean, we're doing business, but a lot of people are not out shopping. And, a lot of people are choosing not to put their home on the market right now. And so I have more time than I thought I would. Normally, I always tell people you want to sell your home the first half of the year and you want to buy the second half of the year. That is definitely changing because of this black swan event with coronavirus. This is just kind of how the economy always is going like this. It's always going up and down, right? And there's actually 4 sectors. And so it's, growth, and then we go down, and then we go back up to growth, and then we go down. The core pieces of the U.S. economy are on the backside of the business cycle. Recent volatility of COVID-19 may trigger hesitancy and pose downside risks to our outlook. Ensure you have a solid cash flow position to handle the headwinds that may occur in the next 2 quarters. And that's really what we're looking at is 2 quarters. It's going to be this quarter and next quarter, and I think we'll fully be out by 3rd quarter of this year. 3rd and 4th quarter are going to be a splurge of energy and boom, and I'll get into why. Is there anything else on this slide I wanted to say? Yeah, this phase D, we're in a recession right now, but it's very temporary. So long-term concerns I have for the global economy, impact of slowdown in China, definitely happening, European cohesion, mortgage finance system, deficit spending, and income inequality. Recessions are caused by monetary policy tightening, overborrowing, fiscal policy shocks, and financial sector dysfunction, which is definitely what we're in. This is just something that hit us, and we basically closed everything. So let's talk about the U.S. What happened in 1934? Fannie Mae was created, and Fannie Mae was created out of the Great Depression. And this is important to understand because here we were, all money was privatized back then, and we were in a horrific depression here in America. And that's when the government stepped in, and they created Fannie Mae so they could buy back mortgage securities. And what this did for our economy was it basically flooded the economy with money, which was incredibly important. Let's go into it. It's quantitative easing. We've all heard it. The first time we did quantitative easing was 2008, and that did pull us out of the big recession of our lifetime. Obviously, everybody remembers that. Quantitative easing is a form of unconventional monetary policy in which a central bank purchases longer-term securities from the open market in order to increase the money supply and encourage lending and investing. Quantitative easing is a process whereby a central bank, such as Bank of England, purchases existing government bonds in order to pump money directly into our financial system. It is regarded as the last resort to stimulate spending in an economy when interest rates failed to work. Our interest rates are low. You wouldn't think we'd need quantitative easing. However, nobody thought the COVID crisis was going to completely shut us down. So America pulls out of depressions, much like in 1934. They pull out of recessions through housing. Real estate makes up or has a direct effect on over 60% of our entire economy. Think about the companies that are supported by housing. We have Home Depot, Target, Lowe's, IKEA, paint, carpet, blinds, furniture, interior designers, realtors, lenders, you name it. It's a huge portion of our economy. So on March 15th, 2020, the Federal Reserve announced it would revive the QE program. It would purchase $500 billion in U.S. Treasuries and $200 billion in mortgage-backed securities over the next several months. It wanted to make sure banks had enough liquidity to help businesses impacted by the corona pandemic. Guess what? This isn't even close to enough. And so while it was great on March 15th and you saw the stock market go up, Trump then came out and said, you know what, we're going to do unlimited quantitative easing, which means the government is going to pump money into our economy. So the drawbacks are, if you look at the second part of this, it causes inflation. So in a worst case scenario, the central bank may cause inflation through QE, but that hasn't really happened. They're going to do quantitative easing in order to make sure we do not stay in a recession. Trump wants to get reelected. He's going to make sure our economy is roaring by the time we go to the voting boxes. So what does it mean for us? Unlimited quantitative easing? It means interest rates are going to go down. According to the bond market, our interest rate should be at about 2.5%, but we don't have enough money in the market yet. So interest rates are more like 3.5% right now, but as more liquidity comes into the market, and that is going to be happening through our government, interest rates are going to go down. Come this summer, if you have great credit, you're going to get a loan for about 2.8%. None of us have ever seen that in our lifetime. It's also going to make the economy roar. We're going to have growth, we're going to have inflation, and we're going to have a booming economy. This is great for people who have equities and own real estate. This is not great for people who are renting. By 2024, we have the potential for 16 million new additional households. And that's all from the millennials. The millennials are going to start having babies, and they're getting married, and households are growing. So do I rent or do I buy? Average homeowner in America is worth $231,400. Average renter in America is worth $5,200. Where do you want to be? Let's talk about Colorado. Updated on 4/7, we have 5,429 cases of the coronavirus. 1,079 people have been hospitalized. We've had over 28,000 tests and 179 deaths. 44 outbreaks at residential and non-hospital healthcare facilities. We have, I think, about 7 million people living in Colorado. So on April 7th of 2020, real estate-wise, we had 1,822 active properties. 751 of those were single family. Our Denver Weekly Watch, median closed prices. If you look week over week, that's the first box. Our closed listings are going down. We're down 11%, again, because people are quarantining and are not going out to closings, although we can bring people to you. So if that's a concern, give us a call. We can tell you how it's working. We're doing a lot of stuff virtually now. Median days in the MLS is still 6 days in the MLS before it goes under contract. Our new listings are down, -9%. There's a lot of fear about putting your house on the market and getting sick. Again, we're doing everything we can. We have sanitation stations. When I go out with buyers, I'm giving them gloves and Clorox wipes, wiping everything down. We're keeping it as safe as possible. But our pending listings are down 20%. Closed listings are down. In 2018, we had 711. In 2019, we had 685. In 2020, we had 630. That's down about 5%. And pending listings are down 40%, which is about right. Our showings are down about 40% right now. What does this mean for you if you're out there? My buyers are getting great deals. My people that are out and looking are winning. Median days in the MLS are still less than a week. Our new listings are down. And that's something that's really important. It's all about supply and demand, right? The more houses that come on the market, the more the buyers have a choice, and it doesn't push prices up. I think pricing is actually going to stay incredibly level through all of this. You're not going to see values go down, but you are going to see values boom. Definitely by fourth quarter of this year, you're going to see booming prices, especially with our low interest rates. I just took the Baker neighborhood and Athmar neighborhood to give you an example. So from 2019 to 2020, average days on market went down almost 30%. And our average sold price went up in Baker 6.5%. Baker's the historical neighborhood of Denver where my office is located. Our average price per square foot above grade went up 12.9%, from $376 to $425. Athmar, neighboring to Baker, same deal though. Average days on market are actually up a little bit, and that is actually because there's new construction going on there, so don't take that that's not too important. But the average sold price is up 8.4%, and the average price per square foot above grade is up 11.9%, and that's year over year. So our home prices dipped slightly week over week from March 29, 2020 to March 22 of 2020. The number of closed listings decreased. They're down about 11%. Pending listings saw a second week decrease, down 20%. The count of new listings was down 9% from last week. But days in the MLS are holding steady. So there's a lot less buyers out there, but there's also a lot less listings. So you're still okay if you need to sell. I just wanted to bring this graph up, and it's housing appreciation rates during recessions. You know, people always call me, they're like, oh my gosh, my house I just bought, and like this COVID thing happened, and I'm gonna lose all my equity, and I wanna put this in perspective. The only time we really lost was 2007, and that was a Great Depression. I mean, we felt that, and it hurt. We went slightly down, 1%, 1.9% in 1990. So in Denver, and so, but home prices in the last 4 out of the last 5 recessions in Denver has actually appreciated, and that's the dark square, not the striped square. So recession does not equate to a housing crisis. Denver Metro price appreciations, homes versus condos. Homes do better. See the solid line? Condos are more affordable, and if you're just trying to get into the market, I would have you buy a condo. If you're a first-time home buyer and you need something, but you're going to appreciate more. In the last 45 years, from 74 to 2018, houses appreciated 6.5% annually. That's why we have been the #1 city in America for investors since 2012. We're stable, and we're an appreciating market. So houses appreciated 6.5%, but condos only grew 5.5%, so a full percentage less than single families. Condos were not affected by the 2008 recession as homes were. Around 1986, the desire for single-family homes began to outpace condos. And, one of the things, if you've been in the car with me, average household in Colorado has 2.2 dogs. Most buyers want a yard. So average, I don't need to write that one. Here's days on market. A healthy market, a normal market, is 70 days on the market before it closes. We're still nowhere near that. We're at about 29 days. So it's still a seller's market, but what's happening is fear is starting to get into people's heads. You need someone who's going to keep calm and make you make rational decisions. But over here, we're killing it for our buyers. We're getting everything that we're asking for. Economic forecast for Denver. We're growing about 50,000 people a year. So where are they going to live? We're not building enough houses. Our natural change is the dark line, and then the little dashed line is our net migration. So not only are we having babies and growing through babies, net migration means how many people died versus how many people were born in Colorado. And then the dots are how many people are actually moving here. So we have 50,000 people moving here, and people are having babies faster than people are dying. Our population forecast, Right now, Denver Metro is at about 2.91 million. That was in 2019. It'll be interesting to get the census and get all that new data. I might have to do like a breakout other Denvernomics in the middle of the summer when that comes out. What the important thing to actually see on this are the millennials. So the millennials are our highest group. We have 878,500 millennials. And this is important because these are people that are in their prime working years. And this is what keeps cities alive. So the summary, the core pieces of the U.S. economy are on the backside of the business cycle. Recent volatility in commodity prices and the progression of COVID-19 may trigger hesitancy and pose downside risks for our outlook. Ensure you are in a solid cash flow position to handle the headwinds that may occur in the next 1 or 2 quarters. Otherwise, look to be on good terms with your bank. While the industrial economy will contract in the second half of 2020, be sure not to pull back your operations to the extent you are unable to take advantage of all the growth that we're going to have next year. The labor market will be tight through at least 2022. So fill your those hard, difficult positions to fill. Make sure they're filled by 2021. What else is important in there? Phase D, that's our recession. It's going to be temporary. So I want to talk about things that you need to think about. Right now, the government's offering forbearance. Forbearance is not forgiveness. I have a nice slide here explaining the forbearance math. Let's read it. Mom and dad have a mortgage, and it's currently $1,500 per month. Dad gets laid off, calls the servicer, asks for forbearance. On the phone, they say absolutely, he gets 6 months. 7 months later, dad's finally back at work and hasn't been able to save any money during the forbearance. Forbearance is lifted and the servicer says, that will be $9,000 plus $1,500, which is due now. Dad almost passes out. Why? The servicer says, that's the 6 months of forbearance plus the current month. Dad says, I can't do that. Can we work something out? They say, sure. We will spread out the $9,000 over 12 months. Phew, okay, good. What does that look like? Servicer says, that will be $2,250 a month for the next 12 months. Dad says, oh my God, I can't afford that. Servicer says, sorry. Dad says, can I refinance? Servicer says, no, because the loan went into forbearance. Dad says, what can I do? I think if you know people who are doing forbearance in 6 months, there's going to be some good buying opportunities. If you are in this position, I want you to sell your house. If you are sitting on a lot of debt and you own a home, I want you to sell your house. I'd rather sell, get you out of debt, and then go take advantage of the low interest rates that are coming our way. And I mean, interest rates are really low right now, but they're going to get even better. This is something just to look at, just to put in perspective. So this is January and February, 2019 to 2020. These numbers are people who are in the workforce right now, counting. We are growing. Denver Metro, just from January 2020, we're up about, 44,000 people just in Denver Metro. Our city's growing. Other cities are not. People are moving to urban areas. People are moving to cool places like Colorado. People like our air, our water, our mountains. We're just an incredibly awesome city to live in. If you know me, I've lived all over the world. I was in Germany when the wall came down. I've had a very interesting, diverse childhood and have been able to see a lot of different things. But I came to Colorado for a reason after college, and that was I didn't want to live anywhere else. So again, we're going to put this in perspective. I'm going to pull this up. So these are our metropolitan areas of unemployment rates. What do you notice? See the dark spots? Those dark spots are really on the coasts, right? And they have 5.3% or higher unemployment rates. Let's go into Denver. Denver, Aurora, Lakewood, we're at 2.8%. That's pretty low. I also wanted to show you, oh, no. All right, I gotta figure out how to go back. Let's see.
Wait.
Not that one. Oh, wait, that one? Okay, here we are. So how do I maximize the 2020s to prepare for the 2030 depression? If you've been tuning in, you know Everybody's going, oh, here's the Great Depression, it's happening. No, not at all, not even close. If you're thinking that, you're wrong. The Great Depression is going to happen in 2030. So I need everybody to be really careful and play it really smart this decade. We're going to see, I need everyone to invest in inflation hedged items. That's equities and real estate. You need to stay involved before the depression. And the reason why you have to stay involved, because a lot of people are like, oh, I'll just wait till 2030 to buy my house. You're going to get creamed. The next 10 years, we're going to have a lot of volatility. We're going to have inflation. And if you're sitting there with some money in your bank account, that money is just going to go down every single month. You need to get your money into the economy and hedge it against inflation. There's three different things, right? If you're renting, I need you to buy your property as soon as you possibly can. There's lots of different programs out there. There's lots of ways to do it. I'm happy to sit down and chat with you about it. If you own, I want you to either keep your house unless you're in debt. If you're in debt, I need you to get out of debt and get liquid. So I need you to sell your house, because I'm sure you have equity in it at this point, pay off your debt. If you're not in debt and you own your house, you really should be looking at buying an investment property. 1 out of 2 people here in Denver, Colorado, Denver Metro, rent. That's 50%. There's lots of tenants out there. And if the numbers show that people who retire that own one investment property retire 36 times more wealthy than just a regular homeowner. Put that into perspective. But I want to get you ready also for 2030. We have 10 years to get our crap together. And there's one of the things I've actually come up with is, because of all the volatility, as soon as the stock market's high, I want my clients to pull out of the stock market. I want them to take their 401ks and their IRAs, and I want you to go into a self-directed IRA. We have all the information on that, and we can show you how to do it. It's incredibly inexpensive, but it would be a much better investment vehicle than keeping it in the stock market. So what types of real estate will best hold its value during the 2030s, during our Great Depression? The lesson from the Great Recession of 2008 is that while single-family homes are not immune to the effects of the Depression, they are far better than condos. I want my people buying houses with yards. How long do you anticipate 2030 to happen? Honestly, I thought we'd hit our deficit in 2033, except that the coronavirus and unlimited quantitative easing, has anybody checked out our government debt? It's crazy high. Right now, it looks like our low point of our depression will be 2036, which means I want you to be liquid and in a ton of cash and ready to buy everything you can possibly buy in 2036. It's gonna be a 10-year period. So I'm really sorry for my younger people. They had 2008, 2009 to deal with. Now they've got the volatile 2020s, and then they're going to have a Great Depression in 2030. So how can people in their 50s, 60s, and 70s best prepare financially, keeping in mind all the aspects of their lives: health, financing, housing? The single best answer is to be debt-free, cash-rich by the time we transition from the rise of the 2020s to the depression of the 2030s. That's why you've got to buy. You can't wait till 2030 because you're not going to make enough money in an inflationary time in order to pull out. You'll also want to make sure you're completely switched out of equities at that time by 2030, and invest into cash into certain government bonds. Government bonds will be protected. America's going to stay. The only 3 countries that aren't going to be affected by the Great Depression, because this is something you could do, is you could move. You got Switzerland, you got Australia, and you got Canada. Those 3 are not going to be participating, but those are the only 3 countries that will not be participating in the Great Depression. So that's the end of this, and I just wanted to say a few things. You can't have the government print billions of dollars and give it all to us. We're all sitting at home. We're all holding on to our pocketbooks. Some people think it's the next great apocalypse. It's not, and the math shows it. So I know I have friends, dear friends, that have lost parents to this. I want to keep our elderly as safe as possible. Please stay home. You know, if you leave a space and go to a new space, wash your hands. Do everything you can to be smart. But the really smart people are going to be the people that are going to buy real estate in the next couple months. This is going to blow over. And when this blows over, the pent-up demand is going to be so huge. You are going to see everybody come out. You think about it. You're sitting in your little apartment. You're not allowed to leave your apartment. And you're going, what am I doing in this small space? I need something bigger. I want something with a backyard, etc. When everything is lifted, you're going to see a flood of people because interest rates are going to be in the 2s, and you're going to see real estate going up. So be smart, be ready, and if we can help you at all, give us a call. We'd love to chat. 303-847-1868. Have a good one.
Thanks for tuning in.
Oh, and thanks for tuning in.